Let's suppose we had wanted to find the depths at which the velocities were both -1. Okay? Well, if the velocity is -1, well, that's here. And we see that if we draw the velocity equals -1 line, it intercepts this graph here and this graph here, so that the two times are going to differ. Okay? Just coincidentally, -2 gave us what was a rate of change, a velocity function that occurred for both of these depth functions at the same time. Okay? But now a velocity -1 won't occur at the same time. Now we could solve. Okay? This looks like maybe 80 and maybe 110, something like that. If we set this equal to -1, then we get, well, the time actually would be, don't like what I'm seeing, but it turns out it's 100, so I'm pretty far off with that V1. And V2, if you put -1 in here and solve for t, you're going to get 75. So, these points are a little too far to the right. I don't know how the graphs are that far off. I scaled it fairly carefully, drew straight lines fairly carefully. Anyhow, we get the two different times here. If we put these two times in up here, well, we see that one time implies, now let's see, that's the time for the V2, so that would be right. And the other time gives us a point up here, and we get two slopes again. And those slopes aren't all that equal, but they should be. Then we can even look at the progression. As the velocity goes lower and lower, these two times will be further and further apart. The graphs and the functions give us a lot to think about with this model. Now, I'm probably not going to ask you to do those things, but I want you to kind of think about it, because then you'll understand the model better. You'll be more likely to do the things that I do ask you correctly.